everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Bodacity Show. I am Jeanette Anderson, your hostess with the mostess, and I'm here with the fabulous Morgana Rae, who I haven't seen for far too long, but she's still absolutely delightful and shiny and bright, and so welcome, Morgana. I'm happy to see you. She recently revamped a book of hers that we want to talk about and has some upcoming events, but is the goddess and the high priestess of money. So let me tell you a little bit about her officially, and then we'll find out some unofficial things. And then we're going to launch into the topic of slaying your money monster, which is a great way to kick off the new year with a real intention to create prosperity by breaking through those limiting beliefs. So Morgana Rae is an international #1 best-selling author, an award-winning entrepreneur, and a 7-figure life and business coach for 28 years. She's been at this a while, you guys. Morgana's fans call her the money honey lady. I love that because of the many documented examples of clients making unexpected income of 5, 6, and even 7-figures within hours of changing their relationship with money using her financial alchemy process. A favorite guest on television, radio, and print, Morgana has guided tens of thousands of entrepreneurs, innovators, healers, and humanitarians to heal the rift between heart, spirit, and money, to save the world as only they can. I love that. I love that intention. I love that that rift really does need healing. So welcome. I'm so happy you're here. So tell us a little bit about you that we wouldn't guess from reading your website or this bio, or that people don't know about you.
When I was 16, so this will be 40 years ago this year, towards the end of the year, November 3rd, 1983, I was hit by a car while I was riding my bicycle to school, and I was in a coma for a week, and I woke up with a traumatic brain injury. I couldn't sleep for years. I was a straight A student, and now I could not read a page and remember what I read or stay awake. And it was really humbling because until then, I'd had a lot of judgment about kids who didn't do their homework. And I had no concept that it's not a level playing field. And my brain just didn't work, which is also very scary because we identify ourselves with our brains. And if we aren't what we can do, what are we? Like, big existential crisis Buddhist question when I was 16 years old. And my whole life fell apart. I couldn't keep up in school. I moved back in with my mother, who's a drug addict and abuser. I ended up spending my senior year of high school couch surfing, ultimately living on the dining room floor of a friend of my father's who lived out in the San Fernando Valley, and borrowing their station wagon just to get to school and back to graduate, which was humiliating. And I gotta say, going to school kind of kept me alive at that time because I was suicidal every single day. Head injuries, and now we're finding out with the pandemic that COVID causes brain damage, and it's an invisible injury, so you don't really get any credit for it. And the thing that came out of that, besides like a newfound humility for the experience and struggles of people that I never knew were struggling, and a sense of the impermanence of everything, I also had a surprising, I would kind of say, blossoming of my intuition. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been sort of a spooky, intuitive person all along. And it's not an unusual thing in my family. My mother named me Morgana after the most famous sorceress in history so it wasn't really, it was actually, for all of my mother's challenges, that was not one of them. But when the brain parts that I was so accustomed to rely upon were not working the way they used to, but they do come back, yay. The intuition woke up to compensate, and I started knowing things before they happened, or knowing things I had no way of knowing. And I've been able to keep that gift all these years.
Mhm.
So on one hand, I come from a family of lawyers and rocket scientists,
Mhm.
seriously. And I, even with the head injury, I graduated as a National Merit Scholar in math and science. How does that happen? I don't know. And I've got a really strong dose of woo.
Mm.
So you'll find that in the way I approach money. It's like, I'm really not into just, making your vision board and chanting your big, I tried it. By the way, I tried all of it and failed at, like, not just the law of attraction, but like the panoply of woo offerings in Los Angeles, which is one of the grand capitals of woo, where people will wave their hands and change your money DNA. And it didn't work on me.
Mm.
But also, the dozen certifications and the mountains of celebrity testimonials and the marketing and the overcoming sales objections and all the left brain stuff, which I have again, thank you, didn't work.
Mhm.
And that's really, really painful when you do everything that you're supposed to do, and you're paying people to tell you what to do, and you're doing it. And at a certain point, I started taking classes to tell me to do what I was already doing.
Mhm.
And at the lowest point, the worst point, I was struggling to make $100 a month
Mm.
in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
Public speaking, testimonials, website, brochures, branding, taglines, all of it. Did success stories, all, it didn't matter. I was still struggling to make $100 a month, and that was looking sketchy.
Mhm.
Living on debt. I know nobody else has been there. And I'm just letting you know, whoever you are who's watching right now, if you have ever had that experience of doing the work
Mm.
and doing everything you're supposed to be doing. And I talk about money, but you'll find out really quickly that when I talk about money, I'm talking about money, but I'm also talking about life.
Mhm.
But if you find yourself, there's something that you've been wanting so much, whether it's money or it's love or it's health, or I had a client who wanted a baby
Mhm.
and couldn't. And the funny thing is, when we slayed her money monster, she was pregnant within 24 hours, and now she has 2 kids. I kid you not. Her name is Nova. So, and I'm just telling you this, and yeah, Leslie in Idaho did make $1.2 million within a few hours of my coaching her. She's why I can say that about the 7 figures. Usually it's not that fast. Sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years. The one that was years was tens of millions, but and that was 3 years. So money is like a great topic for us humans,
Mhm.
because it's the number one excuse we give for everything we cannot have, do, or be.
Mhm.
And if you're a spiritual person, it can feel like a beast, this
Mhm.
whole money thing. That's why I like to talk about money. But everything that I teach you today also applies to wherever the stuckness and the pain is. Because when I talk about your money monster and your relationship with money, I'm really, really talking about your life monster, your relationship with life. It's just that money is a really good and specific thing to focus on, and it will ripple into all the other areas, because money affects all the areas of your life.
It's a very tangible marker of what's going on. So let's talk about uncovering that hidden block to financial abundance. What is the hidden block that you see that's not quite the same as how other people see it?
Okay, so thank you. So if not a day goes by that I don't see something somewhere or somebody emailing me with something about change your money story. change your money story, change your life. Great marketing. Doesn't work in my experience because I've coached tens of thousands of people.
Mhm.
So I've tested and tested and tested. And everything I'm telling you now is completely based on what I've learned from my own clients and myself. But my clients taught me what I teach you now, just seeing what works. So the money story is more like the symptom. It's like the pustules, which are kind of the symptom of, the chicken pox or the whatever, but it's coming, it's like the symptom of the poison, but it isn't the poison itself. And so it doesn't go deep enough. It doesn't go to the root cause. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about the money monster is we dig up the root cause that came before the money stuff. And the reason that we're so weird about money, and honestly, in today's day and age, we talk about everything, like really personal, inappropriate stuff in loud voices and markets, because I've heard it. But we get really quiet when we're talking about how much money we make and all that kind of, it gets weird. And there's a reason for that, because the root cause, what I call the root cause of your money monster, is never really about money. Yeah, we'll start there, but I never found the money monster there. And the monster is the personification of the root cause. And the root cause is really what money represents. So if you've been going for a millionaire mindset and you've been writing all these negative beliefs about money and positive beliefs about money, and you've been like saying beautiful things to dollar bills and vision boards and all that kind of stuff, great. By the way, if it works, always do what works. Just turn me off right now. I've never seen it work in the people who come to me. I'm very often sort of like the coach of last resort. I attract a lot of masters. I'm talking about spiritual masters, but also business masters, people who are already making millions and tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, who are a wreck and in drama. And then I also have people who are on public assistance worried about homelessness. So I've worked with the extremes and everything in between. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say that I've heard it all, because anything I haven't heard, I will. But what I found is that it's never really about the money. It's about what money represents, and that is love. Am I lovable? Worth. Am I worthy? Mm-hmm. Also, am I valued by others? But it's really, am I worthy? Mm-hmm. Safety. Is the world a safe place? And when we go into stuff that doesn't look like it has to do with money, like, accidents, injuries, violence, climate change, pandemics, whatever it is, family histories of slavery, genocide, all that kind of stuff, anything that makes the world a not safe place will show up in your relationship with money, and all issues of power and abuse of power. And am I powerful or powerless? So it's love, worth, safety, and power. All of your wounds and all of your mess, anything in those areas of life will show up in your relationship with money. And what happens is when we can give it personhood, mm-hmm. It no longer is sort of this bloodless abstract concept, because we can talk about money beliefs for a really long time, and it'll be fascinating. I can tell you about the study in 2008 that showed that when people talk and think about their pets and their loved ones, the frontal lobe lights up on their brain, and they're very relaxed, and they feel very generous and very optimistic and open and yummy. And then the moment the topic of money comes up, all of that loving feeling shuts down, and the limbic reptile brain takes over, and everything is fear and competition. So we know that. Mm-hmm. Fascinating stuff. So what? It doesn't really matter unless we can actually use that knowledge and change your triggered response to money, which is not your fault, nor is it unique to you, but your root cause will be very specific and unique to you. So we want to first start, it's a 6-step process. I call it financial alchemy. Alchemy is the transmutation of lead in human experience, trauma, into gold. So whatever traumatic experience you have ever had in your life, no matter how much you've healed it, if you can milk any energy out of it, do so. Take it to the bank. You've already paid the price of admission by going through that experience. I say use it for whatever you can for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to go through it again, but if you have any energy, you can always tap back into that well, or maybe it's something else that you never knew really affected you. I had a client about 15 years ago, a guy, and when we dug enough, we found that his trigger event was really, really innocent. He was kind of toddler age, 3 or 4, and he was playing with a little girl his age, and they were playing doctor because they're kids and they're curious.
Yeah.
And an adult walked in, and we don't even remember what she said or anything, but he remembered his shame in that moment, shut him down so much. And it negatively impacted his romantic relationships and his relationship with money 30 years later.
Yeah.
And that was the instigating event. And I'm only sharing that because it's so far off the track of what somebody might expect. I've also had very dramatic, very violent, terrifying triggering events. It's going to be different for everybody. But here's the fun thing about him is, so we slayed the monster, the personification of that feeling. It wasn't the woman, it wasn't his parents, it wasn't him. Because when we slay it, we want to, we don't want to slay you. We're not here to kill your parents or anybody real, but the person that he created, the money monster, felt very real, and he eradicated it, which created an open space for a new relationship with money, which is really a relationship with life, but we call it money because that's an area of life that needs love and healing.
Exactly.
For you and for everybody.
So,
But the punchline is, within a month, he made over $1.5 million.
wow.
So after that.
That's a pretty good result. So we only have a few minutes left, and I want to talk about your 6 steps to turn your money monster of scarcity into a money honey who loves you and wants to stay with you. So let's talk about your 6 steps really quickly.
Okay. First step is uncover the root cause. So, and I've already spent a little bit of time on it because it's the most important. You can't skip a step. I've tried it. You can't. Every step, the next step builds upon the first. So you want to go deep. You want to dig up where the real pain is. Not so much that you traumatize yourself or dissociate. It's not necessary to harm yourself in this process, I promise. But you want to really feel this, and so find wherever the pain and the energy is around anything that has made you or makes you feel unlovable, unworthy, unsafe, or powerless, especially if it doesn't look like it has to do with money. Stuff with parents, stuff with authority, stuff with just you're being rejected or betrayed, or the worst thing you say to yourself, any of those things. And you sort of are just building a critical mass of ick. And when you hit the critical mass of, oh, this is horrible, then we do a really weird leap of imagination and we give that feeling personhood. And we want to make it as human as possible. And I say that because sometimes I've noticed a client will make it very cartoonish, which is a way of protecting ourselves. It's sort of what I call a money monster scam, because monsters like to, they got a good gig. And sometimes they want to fight for their own existence. And when you have this like, horrible monster and it's like, what size? Does it have a gender? What do his eyes look like? What does the breath smell like? What does it say to you? What are its fingernails like? Really gross stuff like that. When it's real enough for you and all bad, nothing good, And by the way, the bigger, the badder, and the scarier, the better, because it creates energy like a slingshot, creates momentum. Then step number 3 is you obliterate it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the monster is allowed to continue on its course, the natural logical outcome is it will kill you.
Mm.
Only one of you gets to survive. So in step number 3, and I'm especially talking to my vegan spiritual folk because
Mm-hmm.
I adore you. And this can be really weird for you, is I want you to choose yourself
Mm.
and annihilate the monster. There's something very sacred about this kind of violent rejection of everything that you do not allow to go forward in your life experience.
Right.
And you want to leave no bloody bits, no energetic traces, complete vacuum, annihilate it completely, even if you have to suck up all the ashes in a cosmic vacuum cleaner, so that you feel the vacuum and the emptiness, and it should feel different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you've never before in your life felt the absence of your monster. Now you do, and that can feel fantastic and light and expansive, and it can also feel a little sad or scary. All of those responses are perfect because it's different and it's gone. And now that you have the empty space, yay! Now we get to the fun part, and there is a fun part. And that's step number 4 is you get to meet all that is left is the polar opposite of your monster, and all that is left is love. So now you get to have a new relationship with money. We're going to call it money because money is the area of life that needs your love and your healing, but it's going to feel like love. And it's also going to be a person, male, female, non-binary, whatever is your flavor. It doesn't matter. Just somebody who loves you and is worthy of your deepest trust and admiration. And if it has a flavor of romance, that's even better, because romantic partners are equals. You have the power to break your money honey's heart. It's not like money is God or Oprah way up there and you're way down here, but you're actually equal. In fact, you have more power because you have the body. You become the gatekeeper in the relationship. So the new money honey, that's what I like to call it, that's strangers in airports, have chased me down and said, Morgana, are you Morgana, the money honey lady? Really, it's like on other sides of the world. So this gets around. This has got to be somebody just so lovable, who loves you more than anybody in the world and feels so good to be with and shares your values. You want to save the world, your money honey is like, yeah, let's do it. Not harming anybody.
Right.
Who wants to be with you like so much, like you've never experienced. And that's step 4, meeting the money honey.
Right.
Step 5 is now you have a conversation. My first question when I met my money honey way back in March of 2023, almost 20 years ago. Whoa. My first question, and it's a good one, so steal it. What do you need from me so that you can stay with me? Which is totally different than what do you need from me so you can love me. Love is unconditional, presence is not. So I didn't know how to allow money to be with me because I had like Olympic muscles to push money away unconsciously that I was never aware that I was doing until I saw my monster and was like, whoa, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the honey was so cute and handsome and sweet. So I asked him and he responded. At that time, 20 years ago, he said he needed me to love him and stop treating him like a monster. That you're going to have the answer that your money honey needs you to know. And it is always going to be good for you. It's always going to be, because the thing that will make your money honey the happiest is your happiness.
Right.
Your exaltation. You want to repel and break money's heart, disrespect yourself.
Mm.
and reject him, her, or them, whatever your flavor. Mine is a guy. So
So-
step 4, have a converse. Oh, with step 5,
Fine.
have a
Yeah.
conversation.
Conversation.
And step 6
Yeah.
is action is magical. All this stuff has been going on in the ether. You have to embody it. And it may not look like it has anything to do with money. The action, Katie Curtin, her money honey told her to go skating in December in Canada, where it's cold, I hear. And that was really clear. You know, she slayed the monster. She had the money honey. What did he want her to do? Wanted her to go skating. And she was so worried about money. She didn't do it the first day, nothing changed. Didn't do it the second day, nothing changed. The third day, she went skating with her 10-year-old boy. They had this beautiful experience together. She came home, got a phone call, giving her $10,000 that she didn't even ask for. And that was just the beginning of the journey. So step number 6 is take concrete, measurable action, physical action. Because if your money honey says, I need you to love yourself, great, yeah. But nobody does that 24/7. So let's scale it down to something that an action you can take. Because when you take an action, it gives you confidence.
Yes.
And it makes it real. So those are the 6 steps.
So tell us, that's awesome. I love that process. So tell us about your book and that you have an upcoming event. So how can people find out more or get more of you? So tell us about your and your event.
Well, 10 years ago, this month, I launched the original version of this book, which looked different because 10 years ago, I was skinnier, younger, and had browner hair, and a different picture on my back with, like, you know, money and flowers pouring down. So this is the author's version. That's why it's got the funny band on the front. It will not when it goes live on January 23rd. So 10 years ago, I had a book launch. The book launch is, I have my money honey and I have a strong belief that breakthrough should be available to everybody, no matter what your circumstances are. That's why I do like free classes like this and just try to give away as much as I can. But my coaching isn't free. In fact, my coaching has gotten very expensive. So I wanted like my own get out of guilt free card, which was writing a book that would get people results. So I wrote this book originally in 2006 for myself. And then in 2012, I published it for real. And I've gotten the most incredible success stories. If you go to Amazon and you look at the old version, you'll see 90 reviews, tons and tons of 5-star reviews, and manifestations that from people I didn't even know. And my favorite success story is actually from a woman who became my client after buying the book and doing the work on her own. She had her first $250,000 sales month doing the book. Which is part content, words, and then also part manifestation system based on a system that I created for myself. Because one thing is to change your relationship with money. Another part is how do you stay connected day after day after day?
Right.
So I created that. And 10 years later, I was looking at it and I know a lot of stuff that I didn't know 10 years ago. I have way more millionaire and multi-millionaire clients now, and it was time to improve it. So January 23rd, this is coming out. But before then, I've got a ton of free stuff to kind of celebrate a big party for the book launch. And coming up on January 17th, 18th, and 19th, I have a free 3-day roundtable discussion with some of the most amazing people on the planet, the CEO of Latino Wall Street, the creator of Flow Dreaming, just some of, really amazing people. And we'll be talking specifically for 3 days about money, love, and magic. Talking, answering questions, maybe arguing a little bit. We'll see. More dynamic than the usual summit thing. And that if I gave you the link
I put the link in the chat just below where we are. If you don't see the chat below, it's so your website is Morgana Rae, RAE.com. And then it's a /book-pre-launch-2023 is what takes you to that event. So that's the pre-launch page.
And an easy way to get there is if you just go to morganarae.com, like my name, no spaces, slap a.com onto it. You will see a book launch button on my menu.
Right.
At least I think it says book launch. Click on that, and that will also get you to the correct page.
Perfect. All right. So I love your passion, and I love the enthusiasm for the topic, even though you've been doing it for so long. That's the sign of a true person who's in alignment with their purpose and their why, is when they're still excited about it after decades of doing it. So congratulations on that. Tell me, what's one last thing you'd like to leave everybody with? What's one last thought that you want to leave them with for them to take away, Morgana?
I believe very strongly that change happens at the speed of safety, especially for women. So if change is not happening and you are like doing everything to find your soulmate or build your business or, you know, get over a health ailment or whatever it is, and nothing is working, I really want to frame this in that it is not your fault. And there is a very high likelihood in my experience that you may be protecting yourself from the very thing that you really want. And the irony is it also is something that you need that you may die without. So if you're doing everything to make money, especially because that's what I'm known for, but I've seen it with all these areas, and you are getting the results you desire and deserve, if the change isn't happening, find out what isn't safe. Make it safe. And we do that by slaying the monster and removing all of our reasons to protect ourselves from this thing that we want. And the reasons are real. They may not make sense to your logical mind, but your subconscious mind, it makes perfect sense. So get rid of the monster, make what you want safe and loving. And that's when changes happen. And very often they happen really fast and much bigger than any of us expected.
I love that. Change happens at the speed of safety. That's a really good quote and a great line to remind everybody to attend to that core need. Because if we don't, then we won't take the actions. We won't be who we need to be. We won't do what we need to do. And therefore we don't have what we need to have. So thank you so much for being here, Morgana. It's wonderful. I love, again, your passion and your commitment to being a stand for people to find freedom in this area, in this arena especially. And as you said, it filters out to all of the other areas too. So everybody, for 2023, reach out, to perhaps go to Morgana's event, even though it's on at the same time as my event, but that's okay. You guys figure out which one fits for you where you're at. And
don't miss Jeanette's event. Sign up, get the recordings.
Yes, I was going to say
go to Jeanette's event.
Yes, we can get.
We're not competing.
One or the other. So yeah. And I'm a big believer in there's an abundance of time and money for everyone, so you can have it all. It's not an either and world. It's a both and world. I'm not an either or world. It's a both and world. So yes, you can create having it all. Thank you for being here, my friend. I will see you all soon. Have a bodacious 2023 and a wonderful, wonderful, abundant, fun, love-filled, and safe new year. Bye for now, everybody.